Suba MP, I'll come to you on the question of the fiscal devolution, and that is what is a big discussion in as far as in who's undermining it. Some would argue it is Parliament, it is you yourselves, because even the situation the counties found themselves in to have the National Treasury come out to bail out the counties is because there are no laws put in place. So first, to what his argument is that there needs to be no going to a referendum when you can deal with this and settle it on legislation processes. And number two, that it is you yourselves in Parliament that are the problem.
First of all, let me put it that this is some of the issues that we want sorted out. This idea of us saying so and so is the problem. We should have a document that is going to protect all of us from this. Actually, that is why Kenyans went to a referendum in 2010 to promulgate a new constitution. They wanted to protect themselves from leaders, because leadership has been part of the problem in this country. So I will not exonerate any, whether it is National Assembly, Senate, or the executive. All of us are in it together. So the position of CORD, and now by extension of CORE Kenya, is to ensure that what we have, the document, that the improvement, after this improvement, what will now come out is where we protect the devolved government from what one would call the goodwill of any institution in this country, because institutions are also a problem. So now talking about Parliament, I think Parliament here read National Assembly. Yeah. It's not National Assembly which is the problem. It's the problem is with individuals, and the problem is cuts across even the Senate. I want to give you an example, and the Senate just keeps on blaming National Assembly. Today, the county allocation of revenue bill has not been passed. Why? Because it was referred back to the Senate. When it came to impeachment of a governor, the senators were able to recall the Senate in one day. Now for an important bill, as important as county allocation of revenue bill, they are waiting for next week. Why couldn't they recall Senate this week? It means it doesn't matter to them. What they are elected there to defend, they are not defending. What they are interested in is to show their might that they can discipline governors. I tell you, the problem in this country, you cannot point it to one institution. The problem is all the institutions not playing their role properly, and therefore you need amendment to the constitution to protect this unit from the greed of National Assembly, from the power passed of the Senate.
Why do you laugh? Because on the point of running very fast.
Am I lying that you have not recalled Senate this week?
The truth is that
you're still on break.
Up to next week. The national government had to give what they call a bailout. Okay. Do we really need this kind of things?
Let's listen to the senator.
Now you're done. First of all, I'm saying Mbadi is lying, because for impeachment of a governor, of a governor or deputy governor, as we did, it took us 10 days to come back. It took a 10 days notice, and he knows the law. He should be knowing the law, or he ought to know the law. So that's not true. Two, to be able to call senators to come back to whatever, there must be a gazette notice to gazette that day. But that's not even the main problem. You must ensure that if committees were out of for work, they must be able to we must get, Senate is not like National Assembly. In Senate, you must be over 24. It is the only house that has a super, it has to have a proper majority to start in terms of passing anything. So the best moment was to agree that we will come back on Tuesday, but which is like just barely a week. But second is to say that you can run any country or you can run any constitution without goodwill is to imagine, they're unimaginable. The idea of having institutions of negotiation in any system, that's why we have commissions, we have National Assembly, we have Senate, we have county assemblies, is so that there will be goodwill. And that's why Article 61, I told you earlier, emphasizes consultation and cooperation, because governance is a function of negotiation. There is absence of enough resources for all of us. It is not possible for us to share the taxes, and we're debating here about public taxes. It is not enough for us to share the taxes to give all services to everybody, both than using the national and county level, because ultimately they're all serving Kenyans. Yes. But it's important that we prudently use that money for the purpose that we want to do. That's why you see us emphasizing on accountability. It is also important that we appreciate that there must be more bakers of the bread than those who are just clamoring for sharing, and that's why our counties must be innovative in spending the money. So it's not just enough to say put the money to the counties. It must also be that use the money accountably.
Mbadi also said that since your coalition came into power, there's not been much of goodwill in as far as implementation of this constitution. What do you say to that?
It's expected that he would say that, because he has to make an argument that will assist him to continue saying we need a referendum. But the point is that in terms of implementing the constitution, surprisingly within even a year, and I want to speak for the sector that I am an expert in, or I live and eat every day. In matters of devolution, for example, we took us only 1 year to devolve all the functions. It could have taken us 3 years. In matters of capacity building for those counties, a lot of work is going on, and it has been going on. If you ask questions about issues of land, we've done amazing work. I mean, the grabbing of land that took place between 2010 and 20 whatever, we are already addressing issues of land grabbing, for example. We are addressing issues of titles that counties are being given. So the issues of implementation of the constitution, and I know why Mbadi is agitated, the issues of implementation of the constitution are ongoing. The only problem is that some of the things we are doing are touching on the people who are clamoring for that amendment. Now, because we have said land grabbing is a problem, they say let's amend then the constitution. Because we have they were defeated, they say let's deal with IBC. I saw the leader of Okoa Kenyan Code say the other day, or is it Okoa what? I have had variations of Okoa.
Which one?
Well, there's a lot of Okoa Jahazi, Okoa Raila, all that. All these I saw him the other day saying that there is no time limit for amending the constitution. It's correct. But also he says that America and South Africa amended their constitution within the short period, but they never did a referendum.
So the amendment
you
in
cannot
6 months, but not through a
push
referendum.
the country to spend money on time running about amendment when we have barely done the work that we should do as various institutions to do.
But this collection, as you respond to that, collection of signatures that's ongoing, and Kanini Kega has moved to court, the member of parliament. It's a scandal, you're saying, has moved to court to stop it because, or have an understanding of what the law says in as far as what comes first. Do people have an understanding of what they're signing up to? Because your COE has not come up with the questions to be put to a referendum.
Well, before I address that, and I'll address that very well.
Yes.
First of all, let me, Murkomen talks like we have only provided one route of amending the constitution in our constitution.
It's not.
The Article 256 is there in the constitution.
That's true.
And there is also Article 257. And they are not there by chance. Actually, Article 256 is a through parliamentary initiative. If Jubilee has a problem with amending the constitution through popular initiative, they don't want us to spend money, whereas there's money to steal, over 8 billion in office of the president, which can run referendum. But if they feel there is no money, what you need to do is very simple. You just generate legislative amendments. But what we see is Jubilee talking at us, telling us we don't need referendum, we can use other institutions, and there is no motion towards using those institutions. Then who is fooling
why don't you bring those motions, since you're the ones who won the change?
The reason why we can't bring those issues right now is we are dealing with fundamental issues. When you talk about devolution, in our view, it's a fundamental issue that requires the input of the people of Kenya. And we are convinced in that line. We initially wanted to engage with Jubilee. And now you see them, I've seen the deputy president who actually speaks this today and speaks another tomorrow, and is known for that in this country. But when I listen to him, I say, we can talk as a country. Didn't we ask them we wanted to talk? We gave them over a month to talk. They dismissed us. They called us names the same way Murkomen today is calling Okoa Kenya, Okoa Raila, and Okoa Jahazi. When you are in power, Sophia, when you are in power, this kind of arrogance is not unique. This kind of arrogance is there. It was there during Moi's time. Remember how Sharif Nasir used to talk? You remember how these people used to call even agitators of multipartyism dreamers? But where are we today? This is
not a campaign.
Let me now get back to the question that you asked me with regards to collection of signatures. I'm happy the people who are talking about this have not even read the forms that people are signing. I know you cannot sign, but just go and have a look at those papers. I mean the forms that we are signing.
I don't know now.
Now listen, because you don't want to know and you're not interested, the same way you are not interested in my answers, but it would help you much more if you're interested in listening to what I'm saying. First, the Constitution Article 257(2) talks about popular initiative. The question can come, first of all, the promoters of the Constitution can come up with general suggestions. And it is not general question, it is suggestion, and which they will now translate into a draft. There is no requirement in the Constitution that before it becomes a draft bill, that you cannot collect signatures. Okay. So long as you have general questions, and we have general questions, suggestions, I mean, it's not even questions. The general suggestions we have for the benefit of Senate, there are 4. They are not even 13, they are not even 10 that
the
I hear
4 are,
people
very
talking
quickly.
about. We have the devolution aspect.
Yes.
We are telling Kenyans we want to give more capacity to devolution.
Number 2.
We are telling Kenyans we want to touch on inclusivity in government. And we are talking also to Kenyans about institutions, including his weak Senate. And I've said it many times. It's not that I don't like Senate. What I'm saying is the Senate as it is today is too weak. We need to empower it. Then I may go there. Before it is empowered, I cannot go to the Senate. Let me just finish. So we want to give capacity to Senate to play the role as an upper house. Don't just brag it is upper house and it is so junior house. Okay. Number 4 is with the issue of land that is talked about. This
to give NLC
Jubilee government is bragging, they're giving title deeds. Who told them that is their responsibility? Their responsibility was given to National Land Commission to do investigation on historical injustices. He's talking about 2010. What is so unique about 2010? Land grabbing in this country started with the colonial government. It was perpetuated by the father of the current president.
You're talking about the collection.
Even made worse by President Moi. And now the successor of President Moi, Kibaki, also did this. Now we are in another era. What we are seeing is the clamor again now to grab land, which its leases are coming to an end. And that is what they are calling land reform. Far from it.
You call the collection of signatures a scam.
My friend Mbadi is an accountant. He knows there is 2 ways of there is something called fast in, fast out, and there's something called last in, fast out. What the cabinet secretary of lands and Jubilee has done is to deal with first what we call last in, fast out. The most recent land grabbers to deal with as you progress, because the mandate of dealing with the old ones, I mean, this one is still hot. You can still even get the witnesses in town. But Mbadi is telling us, can we spend time dealing with the ones of 1921 of Harry Thuku days, so that we can now deal with this later when they will have already exceeded the stage, so that we are dealing with historical. So first of all, land grabbing is real. Land in Lamu was grabbed. We need to deal it in the last in, first out procedure as we progress to deal with other historical issues, particularly we have in this new constitution. 2 is to say that Mbadi is talking about referendum. Referendum, whether it starts with Article 256 or 257, as long as the issues are within the preserved issues under Article 255, which include devolution, it has to go to referendum. So he has not even appreciated that even if it starts in Parliament, the issues will ultimately have to go to the referendum. Not all everything. So because as we are opposed to anything that goes to referendum today, because it polarizes the environment that doesn't allow the counties to pick up and. But
you're talking about 5 years. But this process starts now. Perhaps a referendum will be held in that 5 year. No, but let me come to this.
Let me come to the question of
signatures.
The signatures. It's a scandal. I mean, it's a serious scandal.
How is it a scandal?
In some places, people are being told there's likelihood that if court wins, you will be given land.
That's a propaganda.
In another place, an MP told me last night that you go to a constituency and they say, do you like Mbadi? Or you like the guy whom Mbadi defeated? Obviously, the population will always like the person who is out there. So they say, we like Mr. X, who Mbadi defeated. They say, now sign it there that you don't like Mbadi. I mean, because people have not been given proper knowledge and information about what needs to be done. And even more so is the fact that the only reason why court are changing their mind, and the court leader is a master of trickery, is basically because they lost elections. And so once they came they have won the elections, they have lost the elections, they're now looking for a way of dealing with IBC, which Mbadi refused to mention here. The main issue, by the way, all these stories...
You know, listen to me. I spoke about institutions.
Yeah, you just said institutions and jumped to Senate.
No.
But you because you knew the IBC one doesn't say.
It is, of course,
the whole story, let me be very honest, the whole this story is a continuation of the Supreme Court decision in trying to get into IBC. All the other things of devolution, of land, of want, is just is decoration to reaching the far end, which they want to remove IBC. They want to have an institution that can be friendly to them. They want to have a share in joining government initially, but now they have abandoned that. They want to have an easy way of coming to office in 2017. But even aside from that, you will realize that the track record of the people who are clamoring for these changes is not there. For the short period that they were in office, you can see when the Prime Minister was the coordinator of government, we are being told now, it was the chief coordinator of all government, that some money was lost in one ministry, about 8 billion. You see, and so we'll have to look for him with Kibaki to come and answer those issues.
Let me just correct.
So we must always appreciate that as a country we are in transition period. And lastly, why is Mbadi and governors? Because this is a very serious question. They do not want to respect the so-called little powers of Senate. The most obvious provisions of the Constitution about Senate. The most obvious provisions about movement of bills under Article 110. And they want to lie to us that they so loved the Senate that they want to increase the powers.
Let's let him respond. Those are number of
First of all, it is not for Mbadi to decide which bills go to the Senate. He knows that. Which bills go to the Senate and National Assembly is the prerogative of the two speakers. And the two speakers come from Jubilee side of the coalition. So blaming Mbadi for it is really a sideshow. And you know, Murkomen is very good at diverting attention and trying to fix that what we are fighting for is about Raila, about losing election, whichever. And I know this excitement will not go away because I think he didn't also himself believe that they are in power. Because actually, they shouldn't have been in power. But let me put in perspective. You know, when Murkomen talks, and he's a lawyer, well, I'm an accountant. But the beauty with me, I read the Constitution a lot. So when it comes to Constitution, very few lawyers in this country can tell me they have understood it more than I do. The point is this.
But the final person to tell you whether you are right is a lawyer.
The point is this. Well, that is by default. But let me put it this way. Just like you call yourself learned friends as if others have not gone to school. But anyway, the point is this. When you talk of Ngilu dealing with the land cases on last in, first out, does she have that power?
Yes.
The person with the power or the institution with the power to investigate and can investigate on their own or through a complaint.
Are they not doing that already?
Now,
the NLC?
what the National Land Commission, what would have happened is for President Uhuru or Ngilu to write to the National Land Commission and tell them, we have a complaint about land Lamu. Before they go out even to say so and so has grabbed land, because that is not their responsibility. That responsibility.
But then NLC chair says he was in his place to say that he was here and asked him the same question. And he said the president did not
the point is this,
in any way breach the law.
Yeah. The point is this. He could, you know, he's also running a commission. You don't have to. You really can. You can rarely come out and say the president has made a mistake unless you're Mbadi. So the point I'm raising is this. When the president and the cabinet secretary goes out there and starts putting down title deeds which they think are illegal, who has given them that mandate? If they said we are suspecting that there are problems in Lamu and we want National Land Commission, we have written to them to investigate. Then the National Land Commission comes out and tells us these particular specific title deeds are not valid. Then that makes sense. But when the president, and you ask, who has done this investigation? Because the National Land Commission has not done it. So what I was saying in a nutshell, because we don't need to narrow this argument to specific issues of land, devolution. What we are saying is something needs to be done with our constitution. And Murkomen, I don't know for how long he has been supporting his, the deputy president. Maybe there are some of these people who jumped in the bandwagon of URP wave in the Rift Valley. Initially, maybe he was in a different political camp. But if you have been with the deputy president for long, then you know the deputy president told us that there are things we needed to change in the constitution before we passed it. Now we are presenting you with a perfect opportunity that this is the time. We have tried this constitution. It's now in the 4th year. Yeah. It's not longer young. This constitution should not even be called new constitution anymore. It is our constitution. So it should now embrace this goodwill from us also to go ahead.
Which has changed with the elections.
And look for, no, it has not changed.
Let's
even
talk about
before election.
Mbadi, a little bit about the IEBC, because some 3 petitioners have moved to court, and one of the arguments is that it's illogical for court to want to have this referendum carried out by the IEBC, which is the one mandated to do that, and yet at the same time it's one of the issues they want to address. The IEBC, they've made no secret about it, that they're serious issues. They've wanted the commission disbanded. So how is it you mesh those 2 issues?
You know, first of all, we must appreciate that we are law-abiding. Okoa Kenya is law-abiding, and that is why even at times we don't agree with the verdict of IEBC. We went to Supreme Court. We didn't agree with the verdict of the Supreme Court, but still we said life has to go on. Now the point is, yes, we use all legal means. So the point I'm trying to say is that when it comes to IEBC, the Constitution and Article 257 mandates the IEBC to conduct a referendum, and that is the way it is. So a Kenyan can go to court anytime to challenge legality or even to challenge the competence of any institution in conducting.
So in the event you lost in the referendum, wouldn't now again be an issue of IEBC botched it?
If we lose in a referendum fairly, then there would be no problem. But if we lose because of, again, mismanagement by
But
IEBC,
then there's potential of mismanagement going by so far what you've been saying, that this cannot be trusted because of how they conducted
I think we are jumping the gun. You see, the point is, we still don't know the issues that are going to come up in the referendum.
But it's not about the issues, about who is conducting that process. That's the question.
The process is to be conducted by IEBC. Remember, let me tell you, even in the year 2007, I mean 1997, we went to election knowing very well that ECK was not a very good institution as it was then in terms of impartiality. We went to election in 2002 with a better, some improvement. In 2007, we went to an election.
So then you're saying it can never be a perfect body.
You can never have a perfect body if you don't reform it. So the need for Kenyans is to reform, and probably that is one of the things we want to do through the referendum, to reform IEBC.
Okay. The DP was for changes in the constitution. Yeah. So you as well,
first of all,
flip-flopping?
First of all, the DP can always speak for himself, and he has spoken for himself several times. Mbadi has just made a derogatory remarks here about saying that some of us entered into bandwagon of this party or that party. Let me just mention.
That was my thought.
Mbadi just jumped into a bandwagon of a party which was formed by William Ruto, Najib Balala, Charity Ngilu, Mudavadi. Then when they entered inside, because they thought it was their tribal party, they kicked all of them out. Now he's a beneficiary of that party that was formed by William Ruto. He must be very respectful to the people, men and women, who assisted to form that party.
I respect.
But that aside, let's put that aside. Those of us who are in parliament, whether it's Mbadi or myself, we are there because the voters wanted us to be there. And there were no other people. There were many other people who were in the same bandwagon of the parties that we came from, whether it's ODM, whether it's URP, whether it's TNA. They would have actually been chosen even within that party more than ourselves. But the people, chose us. So to try to even suggest otherwise would be an insult on the people. But when we mention about change of positions, the deputy president has become, in my analysis of seeing what he has decided, is that he has become a Democrat, that he was in no. He lost because the people of Kenya so loved this constitution. There is an argument that's being peddled around that we agreed that we pass then we amend. We never agreed anywhere. The people of Kenya agreed that this constitution is good as it is. They voted for it as it is.
Okay.
All these statements we were peddling, because I was in years with Mbadi and others, we were just telling them, okay, if there are even those issues, we will see when it passes. But it doesn't mean that when the people were voting, they were voting that we pass it so that we amend. Two, and most important, is that even the things that we want to amend in the constitution, even the things that Americans amended within the short period after their constitution passed, were not the things to assist the opposition to get to office. It was not driven by personal interest. You've seen Mbadi here fumbling
but
about...
you have the Council of Governors with your Isaac Ruto.
Absolutely.
Also pushing for the same. So it's not an opposition question alone.
We have said with no uncertain terms that he's not pushing it for the money.
He's pushing it for what?
It's for just political interest. He's just been... there's a carrot that Code is trying to dangle
what carrot
on some of this government. I mean, Mbadi knows he should be revealing to us. And two, and most important, and I like what the former Prime Minister said the other day in a talk show elsewhere, that there can only be one referendum at a given time. Reading of the Article 257, we can't have two referendums. So the guess is as good as yours, that one would have said, start from this corner, I start from this one, let's meet ahead there. The issues, any person in Kenya who is interested in the amendment of the issues will look for appropriate time. We haven't said there should be no amendment of the Constitution.
You're saying that
we haven't even said that it is wrong to amend the Constitution. We have said, one, let's consult on those issues. Let's have a consensus. And Kamada Weganje in your clip said that some amendments are going to take the Constitution forward, some will pull it backwards. So we have to be able to agree that this is the process. Because if you tell me we want to change a presidential system to parliamentary, those are debates that Kenyans must have. And finally, let me just say this finally. So we are not opposed to the amendment of the Constitution. Particularly, in my position, I would love to have a referendum that is done alongside the elections. That is my personal opinion. But second, what Code is talking about is no longer amendment of the Constitution. It is not amendment of the Constitution. It is reenacting, rewriting of the Constitution. Because every time they wake up in the morning, if you tell Kenyans, we want to decide about equity, or you tell them we want to have a referendum to deal with cost of living, what is that?
Okay, our time is up, finally. Yes.
You see, first let me correct that I did not imply that Honorable Murkomen was pushed to Parliament through his association with Deputy President. I only was wondering, actually I respect Murkomen, he's a very sharp politician. I was only making a comment that I don't know how long your association with Deputy President has been. Actually, that was the gist.
Yours was longer with him than
fine.
me.
So now let me just very quickly put it this way: that you see, Murkomen is putting for us his own referendum questions or suggestions.
Yes.
No one has suggested cost of living in our referendum suggestions. Those were issues concerning Kenyans, and there were 13. But I've told you that we have now 4 issues. If Kenyans feel those are fundamental issues, they will pass them. And remember, he's telling us now that they accepted that this document is so good because Kenyans voted. Remember, there's 1.8 million Kenyans, close to 2 million, who did not vote for this constitution. These people's voice must be heard. Plus others who probably right now have seen that there are certain clauses that needs to be changed. Plus those of us who voted for it, knowing very well that there was about 20%, and the 20% was widely spoken about. There was about 20% that was not very good, that we felt, but the constitution was better than the one that we repealed. The one that we repealed did not even have the input of Kenyans. So we said, we better have this. Then going forward, we will look for those 20% provisions which are not very good for this country, and we amend them. And that is where we are at the moment. Very consistent, both court and Okoa Kenya as it is today. Okay. But finally, very finally, it is really, really wrong for Murkomen to reduce this to a Ruto affair. Actually, governors unanimously agreed for a referendum. Were it not for intimidation, blackmail, and mere threats from Jubilee to their governors, all the governors in this country today would be supporting the referendum. So it is wrong, and I think it's unfair for you to say that Isaac Ruto is the one pushing this for his own agenda, is being dangled a carrot A carrot has been dangled. No, nothing has been dangled.
We must end it there,
that I'm aware of.
Super Member of Parliament John Mbadi, thank you so much. Kipchumba Murkomen, Senator Elgeyo Marakwet. I'm sure we would have continued on and on. It would have been interesting to also hear what you'd have had to say about Babu Namwamba's wars in court, and also Ruto. He's proving to be quite the headache. That is the Governor Ruto for the coalition. But guess a discussion for another day. Thank you both.